did you start doing triathlons?
So it all kind of started when I first moved to Oman. So I did my first sprint triathlon in June 2018. That was, I think it was August, and I was moving abroad then like 2 weeks after that. And it was a completely random thing to do. Like one of my friends from Badminton was like, "Oh, will you do a sprint triathlon with me? I'm just doing it for the crack. It's down that loan. You can borrow a bike." And I was like, "Yeah, why not, sure." So did that, like, and it was just so much fun. Like, obviously it was really short, so like didn't put too much pressure on like body or anything like that. So then I didn't really think anymore because I was moving away. So then when I moved away, I think, yeah, 2, 3 weeks after that, I looked for a triathlon club in Oman where I was moving to. And
Okay.
just out of luck, there was a triathlon club and a running club. So I kind of just joined in with them, and it all kind of stemmed from there. So I think I did like an Olympic distance triathlon in November when I moved over there. And like, I found it so hard. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
that was the hardest thing I've ever done. And did that anyway. And I was like, I swear I'm never doing anything like that ever again. And then, like, literally, I'd say it was about a week later, they started putting up posters for Ironman that was going to be held in Muscat, where I was living. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that looks so cool. But again, that was like double the distance of what I'd just done and what I found so hard. Like, I was like
Yeah.
getting sick after that. I was like, that was just awful. So anyway, just before I flew home for Christmas, because that Ironman was on the 1st of February, I was like, oh, I just sign up for it. Because I knew if I went home and I wouldn't sign up then when I went back, you know, after Christmas, after being out loads and like eating so much and stuff. So signed up for it like literally the day before I flew home. So that was kind of back in my mind. I was like, I have to maintain some sort of fitness after Christmas. So yeah, then went back to Oman after Christmas and had like 7 weeks of like proper training before I could race, and just trained really, really hard and kind of gave it my all, and yeah, raced on the day, and just I've been absolutely hooked then since that.
So you did one sprint triathlon, you did one Olympic distance, and you went straight into Ironman.
Yeah.
That like
Yeah, it's crazy.
no,
It's
that is it's like people train for so long and like really work themselves up. So to be able to do that is like amazing. To be able to jump in and your third triathlon be Ironman distance is very impressive.
So in saying that now, it was the 70.3. It was the half Ironman distance.
Oh, sorry, but still.
I should have said that.
No, that's okay. But it's no, that's still like it's huge distance to go to take on. Do you know what I mean? As your third one.
Yeah, it is. It's quite daunting, like, but I suppose it just can be done. And like, I think I was in an environment where everyone around me was like so positive, and it wasn't like super competitive or anything. It was really, I just wanted to get it done. Like, I had no pressure on myself. Like, I hadn't really a clue what I was doing, to be honest. I like had never ran a half marathon after cycling the bike, so it was just a new experience, something to do. I was like, my way of thinking was like, nobody's going to know I even did this. So that was kind of my way of thinking.
Totally. So what's the difference in weather like? Because obviously that's something as an Irish person, when you end up, like when you're training, competing here, it can be pretty mild conditions. How was it to handle that?
So yeah, the heat was an awful lot to handle. Like, I found it so hot. Like, I remember it was actually the morning of the race, one of my friends gave me salt tablets. He's like, you're definitely going to need them, like, just to replenish your sweat that you've lost. So just kind of stayed hydrated and stuff like that. But running in the heat is an absolute killer. Like, it's just, I can't even describe it. Like, so when I came home after that race, then I was just like, this is fab to be running at home and in this climate. Like, and even in the rain and training in the winter here, it toughens you up so much. Like, when I went back then, even though I was home for summer, when I went back to Oman after that, I felt so much tougher, like, after experiencing all the elements here of, like, the wind and the rain and even the roads. Like, when I first cycled at home, I was like, why am I shaking so much? Just in comparison to the roads, like, they're like carpets in Oman. And then when you come home here, it's so bumpy, potholes everywhere, like, you need to be so aware. So I think it really toughens you up. Like, so anybody who trains in Ireland, like, they're quite tough, like, unbeknownst to themselves.
Okay. Yeah, no, I would think that the heat would be the thing that, Irish people or, people that are coming from Europe would struggle with a lot over there. But it's interesting to hear that there are elements here that I guess we probably take for granted.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
With so your main focus is the 70.3 distance.
Yeah.
Have you done a full Ironman, or is that on the agenda?
No, I haven't done a full Ironman. So, like as I said, I had planned to just do that race and forget about it and just move on and kind of go back to just normal things. But from that race, I actually ended up qualifying for 2019 World Champs. So they were on in Nice the following September. So I said, okay, I'll just do them and then I'll call it quits. So then when I went to the World Champs, like, oh my God, the atmosphere was just unbelievable. Like, and that kind of gave me a huge sense of inspiration, and I just wanted to keep going then. So then after that, I went back to Oman again in the hope of qualifying. So I placed second in my age group the first year I did it. So I was kind of going for first. Then I kind of put a good bit of pressure on myself, and then I suppose wanted to qualify again for the 2020 World Champs. So went back, and the race went really well, and finished first in my age group. So that meant I qualified for New Zealand. So that was supposed to take place in November, but that's been cancelled now due to COVID. So yeah, I've no plans to do a full Ironman just yet. But as I said, like I swore I was never going to do a half. So I'd say I probably will in time. Maybe get New Zealand over with and then see how.
Yeah, there's always, you can always do a few more of these and see what you want to do. I'm sure you'll probably get sucked into doing a full one at some stage. So what is the kind of goal with the 70.3 at the moment? Like, what are your targets?
So it's just kind of personal goals. Like I want to improve my rankings for the 2020 race. I think in 2019 I finished 48 out of 200. So I was really happy with that. So if I could finish top 20, that would be like amazing. So like I'm just kind of competing against myself, really, just trying to improve my times, do myself proud and do my family proud and that. So I don't really compare myself to other athletes at the moment. Like I think if you're professional, you kind of need to be doing that. But at the moment it's just trying to improve my time and try to be fitter, faster, and stronger.
And it's only something still relatively new to you. Like there's lots of people that have been doing it for years and years, and to have just taken it up and ended up in this. It's like there's obviously so much room for improvement, but like you're saying, like enjoy it and see where you go.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm assuming you had a reasonable base of swimming.
Yeah, so I swam competitively until I was I think just before I did my leaving cert, I stopped, just because it was just taking over my life. Like I was swimming like in the mornings before school, the evenings after school, and just had no life. So then after that, I just kept it up maybe once or twice a week just for general fitness. Mm-hmm. And I played badminton then as well. So that would just kind of kept me fit. Used to go for long walks and stuff like that. So I was always quite active. So when kind of triathlon came up, I was really happy to kind of throw myself into something. I'm quite disciplined like that. If I set my mind to something, I'll focus on it. So it was nice to have that kind of option. So again, that wouldn't have really come up unless I moved to Oman.
Mm-hmm. Where were you swimming?
So I swam at Laser Swimming Club in Galway.
With who?
Laser Swimming Club, yeah, in Galway. So it was all pool swimming. So obviously Ironman is all sea swimming. So it's actually quite different. Mm-hmm. I'd much prefer the pool swimming. Like it's not as cold, especially here in Ireland. Like all the jellyfish, like is just really freaky.
How do you manage the nutrition and fueling when you're training, then also racing?
So like I keep my own nutrition like really basic for the racing. So like a lot of people are actually really surprised. They're like, "What? You have that?" So I actually take jam sandwiches on the bike with me during a race, like just cut off the crust. Just find they digest really easy, because gels, I don't know if you take them for rowing, but I just find they're so sugary, and like for me there's only so many gels I can take. Like I can only manage maybe 3, whereas a lot of athletes will be taking gels every 20 minutes for the full race. So I take jam sandwiches, dates, and then a couple of gels. And then if it's in a hot country, I just obviously have an electrolyte and then some salt tablets. For training then, I'm guilty of like not bringing fuel. Like I'd go on a long ride and I'd just be like, oh, I don't feel like eating. Like I'd just be kind of lost in like the adventure, when you just go out and you're just kind of just pedaling along, you're not really taking into consideration what you need to refuel yourself with. So that's definitely something I need to work on. But other than that, I just try to keep a healthy diet. Like I suppose it's kind of like building and maintaining healthy habits, like nothing fancy or anything like that. Like I definitely don't cut out junk food or anything like that. I'm very bad for chocolate and stuff, like everyone else, I think, I hope. So yeah, just pretty basic, pretty simple stuff.
And is that something that you have kind of learned a bit more about since you've been competing in triathlons, or did you have a base of that from sport before?
No, it's definitely only since I started triathlon. Like I'm definitely much more conscious of what I eat now. Like before, I'd kind of eat anything at all. Like, but now I'm trying to get in healthy foods more so than just anything. Mm-hmm. So I do actually track my calories on my MyFitnessPal, but I'm not like really strict or anal about it. Like it's just hearsay, let's say. If I kind of near enough the calorie intake that I need to reach, I'm happy enough.
Yeah, it's obviously completely different. Like if you're playing badminton or you're swimming, the endurance from moving from those type of sports into, you know, a half Ironman is very, very different. And I think that's something that, you know, moving from those sports, you kind of have to get an understanding of, because you need so much fuel, and you know, there's a lot to learn. And I think sometimes as girls and women, sometimes you can kind of think, oh, I don't really need that much, when you actually do. Like, kind of on that point, we have spoken to a couple of people about say training with menstrual cycle and managing that in sport. Coming from a swimming background, I imagine that was something you had to learn pretty quickly, how to manage. Talk to us about that.
My period actually came 1 week early when I did my first Ironman in Oman. So I remember the night before the race, I had like really bad cramps, and I was like, oh, this actually feels like my period. But I was like, it's definitely not you, like definitely not. So anyway, went to bed and I just passed it off as nerves. Then the next morning I woke up race day morning and I had it. I was like, this is an absolute joke. Like it just must have been brought on by stress, because I'd have a really regular cycle. So like that, I was so disappointed. I was like, this is just so annoying. Like, what are the chances of this? I'm going to be in so much pain now, like running, swimming, cycling. But like that, I just didn't let it take over. Like, I think it's something like mind over matter in that sense. Like, there's always ways. Obviously, I just had to kind of adapt to the situation. I was in a little bit of pain. I ended up taking Motilium before the race, which I probably shouldn't have done, because as you know, you should never do something new on race day. But like, the cramps were just really bad. That was probably mixed in with the nerves as well. But yeah, to be honest, I just tried to forget about it and just say, look, it's natural. It's only, at the end of the day, it's only a little bit of blood. Like, who cares? Like, there's been much more gruesome things that happen in Ironman races like than this. Like, you'd have people stopping outside of the road, like going to the toilet on their run. Like, so I just get over it. And I think that's my advice to any girl. I know that's very easy to say, but like, it's a natural thing at the end of the day. And I was definitely daunted in my swimming days about it. But so I've kind of overcome that fear. But I would just say, don't let it take over, or don't let it kind of ruin your experience in sport, because every girl out there has been through it at some stage, like be it on race day or even training days. And yeah, just mind over matter, 100% mind over matter. Don't let it get to you.
Do you have to kind of make any adjustments based on your cycle?
Just because I've been quite stubborn, I actually refuse to make any adjustments. I'm like, no, I'm not changing my schedule. Like, as I said, I get quite bad cramps on like day 1 and 2, but as you mentioned as well, you kind of get through that barrier, and once you get through that barrier, you're over it. Again, I really do think a lot of it is mentality as well. If you say to yourself, I'm not going to let this affect me, then you can 100% get through it. Like, it's obviously not comfortable, it's obviously not nice, but it's just, again, the mental kind of thing. And I think you need that for endurance sports as well, to be able to break through that mental barrier of not letting something like this affect you. Like, it's not going to kill you, it's just going to be a little bit uncomfortable. I suppose you have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable zone to kind of do well. So just to kind of break through it and not let it stop you.
Do you do weight training at all?
And just recently I started doing like basic circuits. It's absolutely nothing major, but in the next couple of months I do hope to bring in proper kind of weight training, like deadlifts and stuff like that, but not at the moment. So it's definitely something I need to do.
The training that you're doing, you are training with a club in Oman?
In Oman, yeah. So I'm home now at the moment, but I suppose the club, a lot of people would do their own thing as well. Like it's not as if the club train every day, like in groups. You'd kind of have like a few groups like on the side and stuff that you train with. So you do a lot of training by yourself as well. So it's not all kind of group based. You know, because everyone's times are different. Like my slow pace could be your fast pace and stuff like that. So it's kind of hard to find a perfect training buddy in that sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a mixture of both.
I guess the question would be like the resources and the support, are they there in the club to guide you and say with bringing in weights and stuff, is there someone that you can kind of ask the question to? And you know, it's obviously it's a bit of a change from badminton and swimming in taking on this sport, and you know, sport to sport lifting weights can be different. So is there someone there that can kind of help you figure out what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, there would be kind of other athletes. There'd be no like set coach or anything like that in the group, but there would be other athletes who are being coached and have like somebody that can show them how to lift properly and stuff like that. So yeah, the sport is always there, and I think that's one thing you probably know with rowing. Like you feel that sense of camaraderie really when you're in the group. Like everyone's kind of gunning for everybody else to do well. Like, you know, which is nice as well.
So what's the kind of plan for the future? Are you over there for another couple of years, or when's the career break?
So this will be my 3rd year for career break. Like I've just been so lucky. Like my principal is so nice, and her husband actually does Ironman, so I think she understands kind of what I'm doing. So I think the maximum amount of time you can take is 5 years. I don't really expect to take 5 years. I'm just going to do this year and see how I get on. I've no set plan. I'm kind of focused on the World Championships at the moment, whenever that may be. They're kind of hoping for early 21. So I'm going to go back in August to work as a teacher and train. I suppose the hours are good in that sense that you have time to train. So I'll do that for the year and then kind of see where that leads me. It's actually funny because I'd love to try out rowing. So that's kind of at the back of my mind. Maybe when the World Champs are over, that I'll give rowing a go, or I'd love to pursue cycling as well.
What is it like from a mental perspective when you're in the race? Because obviously it's a long way to go.
Yeah, so like there's no doubt about it. Like there's numerous times throughout the race where you're absolutely exhausted. Like for me, especially on the run, like because like the swim is okay for me, and then the bike is just almost like a sense of adventure. And then when you're off the bike, like it's just like, oh, I have to face into this run now, like, and like you're mentally fatigued and physically fatigued at that stage as well. But I suppose you kind of just think about all the training you did to get to here. You just kind of get yourself through, well, for me anyway, I get myself through 5K, then 10, then 15, and then once you're up to 20, so you're pretty much done. So you just, again, it's like what we were talking about with the period and your menstrual cycle. You just kind of battle through it, and it's kind of mind over matter, because I think if you let your mind take over, you're just going to give up. But just kind of struggle through, keep talking to yourself, you can do this is what you train for. And then I suppose when you see the people on the sidelines, and if you're racing in a race with your friends, that's highly motivating as well. Like, you know, you want to do them proud, and yeah, just keep going, keep fighting through.
What have your best and worst race experiences been? They don't have to be necessarily in triathlon either.
Oh my God, I would say my worst would have been the first race in Oman. So the first thing that kind of kicked it off or started off badly was getting my period. And then the next one was, you know, when you come out of the water, you need to get your bike and you need to run to the transition line with your bike. So I was getting on my bike, and obviously there was loads of people around like cheering. A lot of my friends were actually there like recording it, who weren't racing on the day. And of course, nobody here fell off her bike like in front of everyone. So it's so funny looking at videos. Everyone's like cheering and screaming and saying go, go, and then next thing, bang. I think I just wasn't used to the cleats, you know, the cleats on your bike. And I don't really know what happened, but I was absolutely mortified, and it was so painful. But default face was just to kind of start laughing and just to keep cycling. So that was absolutely mortifying for me. Like I remember getting on the bike saying, I just want to get off now, crawl home. But I kind of forgot about it then, a couple of kilometers in. So that would have been my worst, I'd say. I know it's not that bad, but I suppose I haven't had too many races yet to judge. And best experience would be just being in Nice, kind of crossing the finish line and racing, I suppose, with pros and seeing pros because for the run in particular in Nice, it was up and down the promenade 4 times. So I was actually looking at the pros and I just thought it was crazy. Like, you know, just give you a sense of like, wow, am I really here? Like, and just to be able to witness that, it was class. It was really, really cool.
How do you balance your work life, social life, and training life?
So yeah, it definitely can be quite hard. Like particularly, I was home for the summer before Nice. So Nice was taking place in September. Like I found that really hard. Like because obviously all my friends were all kind of scattered around the place, and we were all home for summer. So obviously we'd have lots of nights out and like the races and stuff like that. So I found that really hard that year because I was training hard for the World Champs, and obviously I couldn't be going out drinking all the time. Like, you know, like late nights and stuff. You probably know yourself when you're competing. Like you need to get enough sleep and all that, like, and it's quite hard for your friends to understand that. They probably just think you're being like dry, like they just don't understand. They're like, just come out, like. So I suppose I kind of just tried to explain to them like I'm focused on this event, and once this is over then I can kind of let loose. But like I didn't isolate myself completely. Like I gave myself time to go out. Like I used to drink maybe once every fortnight and stuff like that. So I think it's important not to limit yourself or isolate yourself completely, because that's not good for you either. So just try to maintain a healthy balance, not go out all the time, but give yourself a chance to engage in those kind of things as well. With work, I think I was quite lucky. I suppose as a primary school teacher, I could like fit in a swim in the morning, and then you finish at about 3, sometimes 4 by the time you get your work done and stuff. So you have the whole evening to train. Obviously with meal prep and stuff, you need to have that done just so you can be organised and you're not running and racing kind of all evening. So yeah, I suppose I'm lucky in the career that I'm in, and my friends are definitely beginning to understand.
All right, great to talk to you.
But that's great. Thanks a million.